Imagine a wall in a quiet study, decorated with photos of brave men who served in the military. This is a hero wall, but in 1966, there are no pictures of women on it. This story begins when a young woman looks at that wall and hears a life-changing sentence: "Women can be heroes too." This is the heart of the best-selling novel The Women by Kristin Hannah. The author, Kristin Hannah, was a child during the Vietnam War, and the conflict cast a huge shadow over her life. As a young girl, she wore a silver prisoner of war bracelet with the name of a missing pilot engraved on it. For years, she wanted to write about the forgotten women of this era, but it was not until the global pandemic in 2020 that she felt ready. Watching modern healthcare workers struggle on the front lines of the pandemic gave her the emotional bridge she needed to tell the story of the nurses in Vietnam. The story follows Frances, or Frankie McGrath, a 20-year-old nursing student from an affluent family in Southern California. When her beloved brother Finley leaves to serve in the Vietnam War, Frankie impulsively decides to join the Army Nurses Corps to follow him. She is idealistic and naive, hoping to make her family proud and prove that she can be a hero. However, before she even reaches the war zone, she receives the devastating news that her brother has been killed. Frankie arrives in Vietnam and is immediately thrust into a baptism of fire. She is overwhelmed by the heat, the humidity, and the constant sound of helicopters. She works at an evacuation hospital treating soldiers with horrific injuries during MASCL events, which is short for mass casualty situations. She feels useless at first, but she is mentored by two experienced nurses, Ethel and Barb. Together, they form a hooch family, bonded by the trauma of war and a rule they live by: live and let live, whatever gets you through the night. While serving, she experiences the heights of love and the depths of loss. She falls for a surgeon named Dr. Jamie Callahan, but their relationship ends in tragedy when his helicopter is shot down. Later, she reunites with her brother's best friend, Rye Walsh, a pilot who becomes another emotional anchor in the world on fire. One interesting feature that characterizes this book is its meticulous historical accuracy, often called the 99% rule. Hannah interviewed many real Vietnam War nurses to ensure that the medical details, from the smell of blood on metal to the absurdity of wearing heels in a mud-filled hospital, were exactly right. When Frankie's service ends in 1969, she returns to a country that has turned against the war. Instead of a hero's welcome, she is spit on by protesters and finds that even her own parents are embarrassed by her service. The most painful moment occurs when she seeks help for her trauma, only to be told by society and the government that there were no women in Vietnam. This erasure sends her into a downward spiral of alcohol and pill abuse as she struggles with what we now call PTSD. After reaching bottom rock and discovering personal betrayals by those she trusted, Frankie begins the slow process of healing. With the support of her lifelong friends, Barb and Ethel, she moves to Montana. There she builds a refuge called the Last Best Place for other female veterans who have been forgotten by history. The main message of this book is about visibility and solidarity. It explores the impenetrable bonds that connect women during times of crisis and the incredible courage they draw on when their country fails them. It reminds us that sacrifice is not just about what happens on a battlefield, but about the giving up of oneself for others. This story still matters today because it speaks to the universal human spirit and the need for recognition. It challenges our idea of what a hero looks like, placing a nurse's resilience on the same level as a soldier's bravery. In the end, Frankie's journey concludes at the unveiling of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. It is here that she finally receives acknowledgement from her father and realizes that while the war took so much, the stories of the women who served will finally be remembered. As you reflect on Frankie's life, remember her simple but powerful truth. We were there.
Thanks for listening to Books Simply. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves books.